Thanks for coming in, guys. I really appreciate you. I'm Rich Cosgrove. I am the executive pitmaster and owner of Whole Hog Cafe in North Little Rock, and we're here today to talk about the Shack barbecue sauce in general. The Shack, of course, was probably the most well-known and famous barbecue joint anywhere in the area in its day. It shut down about 25 years ago. Not long after we opened, a customer of mine, Bonnie Hudson, called me and said, "I want 30 pounds of pork." And I said, "Great, which of our 8 sauces would you like with your meat?" She goes, "Don't need it, got my own." And I said, "Bring me some of that." So she did. She brought me a pint jar of this sauce, said it was the original Shack sauce. And I said, "Yeah, I heard that before." Brought me a handwritten recipe. I made it at home. Sure enough, it tasted nostalgic, just like that great old Shack sauce. Does anybody remember the Shack? Okay, awesome. Yeah. So, tasted just like that. And I said, I'm going to make that in the restaurant one of these days and let people try it. About 6 months went by, you get busy. I got busy. Customer comes in, unsolicited, brings me a quart of what he says is the Shack barbecue sauce and a photocopy of an article from the Democrat 23 years ago at that point in time when the Shack closed, published by a former employee of the Shack with the small batch recipe and the large batch recipe for the sauce. Ironically or not, the small batch recipe from the newspaper identically matched Bonnie Hudson's handwritten copy. If you go out on the web, you'll find 20 or 30 or possibly an infinite number of original Shack sauce recipes. This is the one. And I've got some for you guys to take home right here. The small batch and the large batch recipe that we use in our restaurant is here. We started out making this sauce about once every 3 weeks. And it's a very simple sauce, a very simple old school vinegar based sort of Memphis style barbecue sauce. We started out making this about once every 3 weeks, and now we make it about twice a week. And when we run out, we have a problem. So we have several other sauces. Is anybody familiar with Whole Hog Cafe? Okay, cool. Thank you. And I've got, for samples, by the way, over here we've got some wonderful homemade rolls. I've got some of our incredibly delicious succulent pulled pork and coleslaw if you want to make some sliders. Now I did bring a 6-pack of all 6. No, I didn't bring any volcano sauce, which is our number 9 sauce. We say it 8, 7, and 8. It's really a hot sauce. It's a delicious sauce, though. I brought our 6-pack of sauces as well as a big bottle of the Shack sauce. If you guys want to help yourself, we've got plenty over here. All right, you ready to get started? Yes. Okay, this is going to go pretty quickly. It's very, very easy. The key to this recipe is precision. It's the alchemy in the exact combination of these ingredients that makes this sauce wonderful. It calls for instance, apple cider vinegar. Don't be tempted to use balsamic, thinking, boy, it'll be so much better if I fancy it up a little bit. It calls for regular sugar, regular old sugar. And you'll be saying, this will be so much better with some delicious brown rice powdered sugar or something to that effect. Don't be tempted to do that. Follow the recipe. And then go ahead and play with it some. Add a little dill sauce or, doctor it up if you think it needs something else. It is a reduction sauce, so it takes a while. Takes a bit for this sauce to thicken up a little bit. It's by nature, it's a thin sauce. So I'm starting it over a low heat here. And I've added ketchup, I've added cider vinegar, I've added the water, and now I'm going to add dark red chili powder, pre-measured. Now, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I'm adding equal amounts of salt, dark red chili powder, sugar, and black pepper. What you might find that you want to do is cut back a little bit on the black pepper. You're not going to hurt the quality of the sauce. It's a fairly spicy sauce if you use the exact amount of black pepper. Now, it also calls for onions. And having made this sauce, that's I'm using kosher salt. I prefer kosher salt. And regular old cane sugar. The recipe calls for onions. You can use fresh onions if you want to. And I've tried it with fresh onions. The issue with onions is onions are really great when they're pretty fresh. This sauce cooks so long, it really cooks the freshness out of the onions. You do extract flavor out of the onions. I've found that actually regular reconstituted dried onions not only last longer, but tend to imbue the sauce with an onion flavor longer as it's stored. And this is also a sauce that does not have to be refrigerated. Now, it's going to take this sauce a bit, since I've got it on really low heat. And the onions in the original recipe are unspecified. I like a lot of onions in everything that I eat. So I'm using probably 3 full ounces, maybe 4 full ounces of onions in the sauce that I'm making here today. And that's it. Now we wait. And we stir occasionally.